Hi everyone, this is Kim with Kim's Vinyl Expressions. Today we're going to stitch out an In the Hoop Wonder Woman headdress set from Elite Embroidery. They are for a 5x7 hoop, and the supplies that you're going to need to do this design is a heavyweight stabilizer, marine vinyl, felt, and either cam snaps or Velcro. I didn't have any Velcro for the cuffs, so I used the cam snap. Very simple. Very simple design, very quick. It's really cute, and I'm sure the little girls are going to love it. They can use it for just playing dress up or Halloween. Just children will be children. They'll wear it anywhere. This is really simple too. This just goes on a headband, and when you're done stitching it out and cutting it out, you just slide it onto a headband. Fits perfect, and then you just put it just like this. Very cute, very simple. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So I just wanted to show you this. The design for the cuff is only 6 steps. Very, very simple. A little over 5,000 stitches. The first step will be the placement stitch. It'll sew out this on the stabilizer, and I use my scraps, and that's why that's like that, but that's fine. So it'll do a placement stitch on where you're going to put your vinyl, and then it'll tack it down. And I'm going to bypass the actual stitching because it'll make the video a lot longer than it should. So this will, when I'm not showing the stitches, it'll actually condense it and you won't have to watch it so long. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out the placement stitch, and then I will tack down the vinyl, and we'll be back. Okay, so I went ahead and got this tacked down. I'm not going to cut around this now. I wait until after I do the star. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch out a placement stitch, which will be here. It'll show me where to put my vinyl for the star. And then we'll go ahead and tack the star down. Alright, so I went ahead and tacked down the red vinyl for the star. And we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to do this with you for those who have never done applique before. What you're going to do is you're going to cut around as close to the stitching as you can, because then you're going to do a satin stitch around it. But don't worry if you nip a stitch. It's not gonna ruin it, because once it does the satin stitch around it, it'll be fine. So we're going to just go ahead and cut this. And it doesn't matter what type of scissors you use. In my opinion, I use these because these allow me to get as close to the stitching as I want to. I also use these knife scissors sometimes, depending on what I'm cutting, but I'm not using them this time because I want to get really close, and I can't get as close as I want to with those scissors. And then sometimes I just got to go back around because sometimes I leave a little too much, so I try to get it as close as I can the first time. But I also used, I forgot to mention, this red glitter is also from my Punkbroidery, and I'll have a link in the description for that as well in case anybody wants it. I like that these are really simple to do. I I use a lot of scraps. I keep scraps of everything, my stabilizer, my vinyls, anything that I have scraps of, I keep because I always wind up using it somewhere. I might not need a piece that small right now, but maybe later I will. And that's what I did on the star here. I just used a scrap. I try not to cut a lot off my rolls if I don't need to and waste any of that. Okay, so we got the star. Sorry, my phone messed up a little bit there. All right, so I went ahead and cut out the star. And I'm now at this time, I'm going to cut all this here because the next step that we're going to do a satin stitch on here and then the final stitch. So I'm just going to cut around this now while I'm doing this. And the same thing applies here. If you nip a little stitch, it'll be fine because we're going to do a satin stitch around that as well. I still think this is a very cute set. And Elite Embroidery has other sets I've seen on her Etsy website as well. And I believe that she had some other superhero sets for boys. So go ahead and check those out while you're on her website. They're really cute. And I'm sure kids are going to love it. Okay. Just a little bit here. I'm very OCD, so I make sure I want to get as close to the stitching because sometimes, depending on the satin stitch, sometimes it'll pop out and I don't like that. So I just try to do as close as I can. I think that's it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is put it back in the machine, and I'm going to do a satin stitch around here, and then I'll be back to show you how to prepare for the final step. Okay, I'm back. Now we're going to get ready for the final step. The final step will be, we're going to add felt to the back here. That's what I'm going to use, and she does have that in her instructions as well. I didn't have a color to really match the gold, so I'm just going to use like some beige felt, and we'll go ahead and attach this. You just need to cover the back, and I try not to waste. So I'll go ahead and get this cut. Okay, So we'll go ahead and just lay this on here. And I'm going to tape it to the back with painter's tape. You can pin it or tape it. I use a lot of tape, so that's what I'm going to use today. It's easy for me and a lot quicker and better, and I just flatten it, make sure I don't like leaving any air to make it wiggle. All right, so got that. And what it's going to do now, go ahead and put it back on the machine. It's going to run the final step, which it's going to do a satin stitch all the way around. And I'll be back and finish this off when we're done. Okay, so we're going to finish off this cuff. It did the satin stitch around here and got that back there. So this is what I did, is I cut the felt first, and then I went around and did the rest because I found that easier for me. But you do whatever is easier for you, whatever works for you. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and this is my way. Just a lot easier for me. So we'll go ahead and just cut all this felt off here. And the one good thing about felt, which I don't know if you can see or not, but where the stitches are, you can see needle holes. So it makes it a lot easier to cut it without actually cutting the thread. I use felt on a lot of things depending on what I'm making. But, and this will also be smooth on the wrist of the child, so it's not, it shouldn't irritate them because it's kind of soft. The first set I did, I put the same gold vinyl on the back, and it just, I had a hard time cutting it and everything, and the directions for this design does say felt, but I'm not good, I don't read directions. But you know, sometimes you can read directions and then do your own thing anyway. But she was right on the felt. I was wrong. Don't use the glitter, I mean the vinyl on the back. It'll be a lot harder. Very easy. And I like pull it out a little bit so I can see the holes better. Okay, got those, and then we'll just pop it through here. And that's that. Now, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I do on certain things, because you can still see, I don't know if you can see it or not, like the little hairs from the stabilizer all the way around. I usually just take a lighter and I just really quick go around it because it just takes those off. It doesn't hurt the design, and you won't have all that fuzz all around it. But that's just what I do. I don't know what everybody else does, but this is what I've been doing for a really long time on things. And it looks a lot better when it's done. You just go really quick so it doesn't burn or melt. That's it. So now what I do is the cam snaps. I usually just get my snaps here that I need. I'll take one of each, and I got that and that one. You want the two. If you use cam snaps instead of the Velcro, you just use one of each on there. Oops. And I usually take this. It's a poke. I call it a poker. And I poke a hole in where I want the cam snap, and I try to get it center. That's good enough for me. And I do that, and I just push it all the way through. And then just, there's short and long ones. And I think I only have the short ones left, but I did do a set earlier and it worked fine. So you're just going to stick this one in here. And I usually just take my nails and push it down. And then the same thing on this side. About there is fine. And, but on one side, you want to do the opposite. You want to stick it the opposite way. Because when you attach these, it's going to close like that. So you want to do that. Well, I'll go bring my cam snap thing over here just to show you. For those of you who don't use cam snaps, this is a big desktop tool that stands up, and there's a right here is where you put the design, and then you take the handle and you push it down and it clamps it like that. That's what this does. So we'll go ahead and just place that on there, and then put it, you'll feel it drop into that little slot, and then you push this down, and I try to do it as hard as I can, because if you don't do it enough, when you go to open it, it'll come off. So you want to make sure it's really secure on there. Okay, I'll do this one. Okay. So that's what that is. Got that done. And then you just go ahead and you just snap it closed. And that's it. Let me make sure it's good. Yeah. So I try to do mine as hard as I can so it won't come apart. So that's the cuff. Very simple. It won't I don't think this will irritate. It's better than having this on there. And that's it. So now we'll start on the actual headdress that goes on the headband. And we'll get that ready and we'll be right back. Okay, so here is the placement stitch for the headdress. I'm going to go ahead and put the vinyl over it and then tack it down. Okay, so that's the tack down that we did on here. We're going to do again what we did with the cuff. We're going to do a placement stitch for the star, and then I'll tack down the vinyl for the star. And this is done the same exact way as the cuff, but I'm going to go ahead and show you anyway. All right, so we're ready to cut out the star and around the headdress. And like I said, it's the same exact thing as the cuff. It's just a little more to the design, so it'll slide onto the headband. And it's about, I think, around the same size too. And the one thing I did realize from the cuff is when you're cutting the star, you know, the ends are usually on a point. You got to cut off that little point because when I did the satin stitch around the other one on the cuff, the point was sticking out of the thread, the satin stitch. So I cut it off, that little tip, so it don't stick out. If that's helpful for you at all. piece of thread there. Okay, got the star done. Okay, and just cut this around. I cut the star, the applique on the star, and this at the same time. It's just easier. No need to take it off the hoop, the machine twice just to cut. So I just do them both together at the same time. Maybe one of these days I'll do a live video in one of the designers' groups. People are asking me for live videos, and I'm afraid to do them because if I make a mistake, I don't want to do it while I'm live, and I'm very self-conscious about that. So that's why I usually make the design first and then do the video. Then I have the design already made and you can see it. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it one day. Alright, so I believe I cut that enough all the way around. Yeah. Okay, so as I said, the same as the cuff. We're going to go ahead and do the satin stitch around here. When this is done, you're going to take your fabric or whatever you're going to put on the back, and you're going to attach it to the back, and then you'll do the final stitch, which will be the satin stitch around here. And I'll be back when that's all done, and I'll show you how it gets put onto the headband. All right, so we are done, and I realized after I started stitching the rest of this that I made a mistake earlier. There is no satin stitch around here. You just have your the tack down for the back here. The satin stitch is on the cuffs. So what we're going to do is just clean this up back here, and then just take my tape off like I always do. And then I leave my stuff in the hoop sometimes, depending on what I'm cutting, because certain things it's easier for me to cut it while it's still in the hoop than out of the hoop. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut this off. I stitch out so many things for different people, and sometimes I get confused with what has what, and that's why I forgot that this did not have a satin stitch on it. and it makes sense. And then again, like I said, you want to cut it as close to the stitches as you can. Okay, got that cut. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pop this out. And then I'll do the same with this as I did with the cuffs. I'm just going to take my lighter to it really quick to get those little hairs off from the stabilizer. And just do it really quick. You don't want to burn it. And then I usually just do that. It melts because the felt melts. So if you run it really quick and then just go down on it, it just melts in together. That looks like should be it. Alright, and that's it on there. So then you just take your headband and you just slide it like that. And just push and it'll go through. And then try to make sure it's even. Now, a little more. Yep. That looks even to me now. And there you go. And then it's all finished. And you have your set. Okay, so there we go. That was the set for the headdress set. If you have any questions, comment below. Subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more videos coming. And I'll see you soon. Have a good day.